If you wanna find me, yeah, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. If you wanna find me, Joe, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. So what's colder than ice and even hotter than a flame? I be in the front row, chilling at a ball game. Yeah, you know.
This is Shereen Rayan with In the Front Row, and we have a special Zona Central Sports Talk here. I have my co-host Lori Burkhart. Say hi, Lori.
Hey, everybody.
And we have a new partner in our venture, Lori. We have Carissa Leitner. Say hi, Carissa.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Yeah, and Carissa worked in the athletic department in her freshman year was Tommy's last year. So she comes with a lot of insight there. The three of us have been very active on social media for this whole week. So we're in on everything. We have everything. We know what's going on. We've been watching the boys fight in the media. It's been really fun. So the first thing we want to talk about, and I'm going to throw it to you, Lori, the women. What happened with their game today?
Yeah, so the women, unfortunately, are just not doing well this year. Multiple reasons, right? We have a very short bench. They're just coming off of, today was the last game of a 4-game road venture. So they were at Wazoo and they lost pretty handily, but they come home. And they'll be in McHale next week for Cal and Stanford. So it doesn't get any easier from here.
Nice, for Stanford.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a tough year for the women. It's just a tough year for them. Having eight players right now, if anybody gets hurt, gets in foul trouble, if anything happens, they're really kind of stuck. They're getting a little tired. You could see it today in the game. They got on defense, I got very tired. But I can't blame them. They've been on the road, for 2 weeks, basically. Can't blame them.
The fact
that have the backup.
I was just going to add to that, Lori, the fact that they journeyed up to, the Oregon schools last weekend, that's a tough haul from Tucson up to the Pacific Northwest. They put in back-to-back multiple overtimes. And that they fought hard to the end. And that if you even take it a week further back when we were at home against Colorado and Utah, both of those games to be such close games and to come down to a 1-point loss, if my memory serves me right, against Colorado, who, top 10 team, top 5 team, and then against Utah to manage to pull that out. So you go back those 2 games before the Oregon road trip, right. And then that they fought so hard on Friday night against Washington, and again, such a close loss. And it was just like that one stung for multiple reasons, but it really stung, and you could feel for them. And they were in this game against Washington State today up until really essentially the 4th quarter. And then that's where the Cougars just, stepped away with everything. But that fatigue, like you mentioned, has really started to kick in. And I think in the case of their situation, if they could get like a bye week, that would just do them so much, because they're playing with so much heart, soul, grit, and intensity, that if they could just have like one solid reset week where they're not having to ice bath it up as much and that they can just truly rest, man, I think that would make them like a massive difference for them for the rest of the season. But we know that's not the case.
Yeah, that would be amazing for them to be able to do that. And I know Adia and the coaching staff is doing everything they can to pull the last little bit of, grit out of them. But at some point, you just get tired. That rotation's not there. So, I'm eager to see how they do against Cal. This will be a good test. I'll be there. I'll be covering that game. I'll be in McHale. I'm really looking forward to seeing what team comes on the court that night.
I would agree.
26. Sorry, it's the 26th. The 26th, the night of the 26th. This is the Cal game.
And what do you think? Like not having Maya Naji, that was a big blow, right?
Oh, that was definitely a big loss for the team, because Maya brought a lot of size, a lot of height. that we don't have at this point in time. But at the same time, too, you got to remember that these athletes, all of them, in any sport that they're playing, they're students first. And that there's a reason why they're at the university. Yes, some of them are hoping to go on to that professional level, but more often than not, especially on the women's side of the equation, you're there to get a degree because you're going to need that degree to formulate your career down the road. And since Maya's been so passionate about medicine and wanting to give back to others in that capacity, she was also a big crossroads with her academic program and being in such an accelerated academic program. But we felt the loss massively, for sure.
And you don't see that every day in women's basketball. You don't see, and she was really good, like a star, right? We can't feel so bad because the TCU Horned Frogs, Sedona Prince, I saw TikTok, she went on and on. They've lost their entire team. They were holding tryouts. They have nobody. They've had to give up games. The last 2 games, they've had to forfeit because they don't have.
I didn't see that.
TCU versus Baylor, a huge top 25 matchup. We start the game. I tip the ball, and I kid you not, 7 seconds into the game, I didn't see a pass coming towards me. It hit my finger and shattered my ring finger on my right hand. 7 seconds into the game. Boom. Just like that, starting center is out for 7 weeks. We ended up losing to Baylor and the next 2 games, but on January 13th, the girls headed down to Houston to try and scrap out a win. And boom, on a non-contact play, our starting point guard, who is leading the country in assist-to-turnover ratio, tore her ACL and meniscus and is out for the season.
I've obviously been on a boat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for the last week, but so I missed that. I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah,
TCU's
they're really in a bigger hurting spot right now than Arizona, which I couldn't have imagined, with a couple of former players that we have over on the TCU team, just seeing that has taken place. I do feel for them, but I also know our team, it wouldn't take much to be in that same situation if we end up with any major injuries. And so hopefully the girls can get through the last couple games in January here. If we could go 1-1 at home, that would be great, with a win over Cal maybe. We've also played really scrappy against Stanford before. So who knows? You just never know. That McHale magic might kick in. And that's a Sunday afternoon game against Stanford, the 28th of January at 1 p.m. So if people aren't doing anything, that's a great game to get out, support the Cats, and, and see a legendary coach too that is about to become, whether it's today or in the next game or two, the all-time winningest basketball coach for college hoops.
Tara Vandeveer just tied Krzyzewski in total wins.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Tara Vandeveer is just she's just definitely the height of what you want to be as a human, right? She's a great coach. She's a great person. She's a great mentor for young women. I admire her so much. And I think you can tell when other teams play her, how much the other coaches admire her. And that speaks volumes as well.
Yeah,
it really does.
She's very ornery when you interview her.
But you know what?
Questions that she knows me because my kids went to her camp year after year. And I'll ask her a question and she's always like getting under my skin somehow. And I'm like, oh, the goat just answered me back and I'm supposed to answer her something. But like, it's always, it's always something to make you think. She's always making you think, you can't just ask her a question. It's like, you're going to ask me a question. You better ask the question the right way.
That's funny. I will say that as much as I admire her, it's okay if we beat them on Sunday.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that would be a great way to end things in January. The January month behind us with the win on Sunday, that would be fabulous.
And talking about coaches, I think it's a good transition. So Mick Cronin, I've also talked to him a number of times, and when he's in a really good mood, he's very funny guy. He's not been in a good mood. His team has not been doing well. So Arizona, after beating them on Saturday, is in the number 1 spot finally. Yay!
tied for the number 1 spot with
Tied.
Oregon.
Well,
and
they're
TCU.
listed
Yeah.
first, but tied.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're tied. Yep.
Because Oregon lost to Utah, was it?
Yes. Yeah. Utah just beat Oregon today.
So Arizona's 5-2, Oregon's 5-2, Arizona State's 5-2, Colorado's 5-3, Utah's 5-3, Stanford's 5-3. That's within one game, you've got 6 teams now. I thought we'd come into the Pac-12 and just kill everybody, but that's not happening.
Don't know what's going on with the men's team, honestly. Like the talent's there, the coach is there, every piece that you want in a championship caliber team is sitting on that bench and being coached by Tommy Lloyd right now. But for some reason, they've just decided to try to, I don't even know. I was going to say try to just like slide through games, but that's not true either, because like they get open shots, but the shots aren't falling. There's something going on there. But thank goodness they found their mojo at the end of the game yesterday and were able to come back and beat UCLA. Because oh my gosh, I would not even want to hear the end of the UCLA fans if we would have lost.
Well, I think Pell had a lot to do with it. He never gave up. If anybody plays with intensity, it's to me, it's Pell. He's the one who's playing defense like his life depends on it. Now, everybody needs to play like that. You know, KJ was showing that yesterday. Different people can rise to the occasion, but I feel like when they had more losses than they thought they would have, they kind of lost it.
They lost their way a little, and hopefully they'll get it back.
Confidence, right?
Yeah. And let's be honest, the Pac-12 always beats itself up, right? I mean, it's always crazy how the teams that you think as a fan that your team is just going to go in and it's going to be an easy win and we're going to get, through this, end up being the team that gives you a heart attack, right? Because it's the Pac-12. I'm eager to see what it's going to be like in the Big 12 next year, because the talent level is stepped up a little bit in the Big 12. And I'm not saying anything bad about the talent level in the Pac, but it's just a different level of basketball in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah,
it would be a completely different level of basketball. And just kind of thinking about this team a little bit, with how yesterday, they couldn't make a shot to save their lives. Something's going on from a confidence perspective, I think, especially when I think about Bam Bam. For him, I watched a couple of times where he hesitated and he didn't take a shot. And I think it's because of a lack of confidence within himself. But towards the end of the game, when he got that defensive steal and then went down and he drained that 3 and he just lit up McHale in that moment, it was one of those things. I am hoping and I'm believing that what we're going to see in the next game that he plays in is that his confidence is back at a different level, maybe not to what it was before, but that we're seeing him in that type of, just rhythm, because that's it. They've lost their rhythm, I think, in some ways.
They really have. I can tell you though, watching KJ yesterday, and I mean, he's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
And man, he reminds me of Kylan last year. Like when Kylan would come in, just that confident, I'm here, I'm gonna show you what I got. He just got that this year. He hit 2 threes yesterday. I don't have any notes on it, but I'm trying to go by memory, and I'm old and sometimes my memory isn't the greatest. But I think he hit 2 threes and he made a difference on defense. And man, if they get KJ going too off the bench, watch out. And Bradley off the bench. I mean, there's just so much talent there.
There is.
It's going to be okay.
Probably can't be afraid to shake it up, I think, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, if everybody could play with the confidence Caleb Love has and the energy that Pell has, if you could just merge those two and give it to every single one of them, I feel like I want to sprinkle them with confidence dust, because when Balla started feeling it and he was playing longer than he usually plays, he got his free throws, and he used to get his free throws.
And actually, we need to shout him out for those free throws, because
he only missed one.
I mean, The fact that, yeah, he went from basically just under 50% to 7 out of 8. And
Yeah.
that I know as a fan, I think we all tend to hold our breath a little bit when he shoots those free throws, but he was magical yesterday on the line. And I saw something in a tweet that he had adjusted his shot a little bit for free throws. Whatever you're doing, Balo, keep doing it because it worked yesterday and it was exciting to see that happen. So I think that's a great thing for him. And then the other thing that we have to remember as fans, can't get too hard on these guys. They're kids.
Right.
They're young men. You know, some of the comments that I've seen towards Kylan Boswell, especially in the last month or so, haven't always been the nicest. Now, I get he's here to do a job as a basketball player for the university, but we have to remember he's 18 years old. He's a sophomore in college. He's away from home. Sometimes kids get homesick. You never know what's going on in their social lives,
Not a shooting
whatever.
guard, right?
Yeah. Well, and then I even think about the 97 Cats, you know, if anyone reflects back to that team who went and made that magical run during March Madness, that team actually had a lot of pack losses. And so, you know, we can't get discouraged as we're coming into the end of January. The month of February is a big month. But at the same time, too, if this team loses another game or two, it's not the end of the world. And I still think there's the opportunity for them to click at the right moment when it comes to March Madness.
Very much so.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. Man, some of the stuff I've seen on social media garnered toward Bam Bam, it's like, come on, guys, you know, I get it. You get frustrated. I get it. I totally get it. You're a fan.
Frustrated. You're a little disappointed, but you don't have to call anybody trash, you know?
Yeah, and or more than that. It's bad. But he's solid. He's a solid player. He's a solid person. He's going to be okay. He's going to find his rhythm. And once he finds that rhythm again, watch out because it's going to happen. It just is. I mean, I have to say every player I've ever watched for as long as I can remember gets into a slump. It just happens. It happens.
It reminds me of Russell Westbrook, right? So Russell Westbrook's playing with the Lakers and, you know, he can't make his shots. Russell Westbrook goes to the Clippers and all of a sudden he's fine, you know, but he wasn't happy, you know, so maybe, and, you know, Miller, I never in a press conference ever heard Miller tear down a player or blame a player, but Tommy will. He will get, I've heard him say, you know, so-and-so, you know, has got to do X, Y, Z and both. And it's like, he's got to start. That doesn't help his players either. They don't feel more confident when he does that. In my opinion, this generation doesn't like anybody throwing them under the bus.
Well, but you know, so let's go back to Mick because I'm going to compare here. The way Tommy
definitely worse.
But on my soapbox here, the way Tommy does it, it's not, he doesn't disparage them. He doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't, I mean, he calls them out and that's okay. You know, that's okay.
My point is Miller never did that.
No.
And if he wanted to.
Yeah.
It takes a certain maturity, I think. He's learning as a coach as well.
Yeah, but and you know what? It's okay to call a player out if you do it in a certain way, right?
It's accountability.
Yeah, it is accountability. And as a coach, you have to be able to give your players and make sure your players know that you're going to hold them accountable. I think I have to do that as a supervisor, right? I mean, in any supervisor position, whether it's coach or in corporate America, we have to hold people accountable. That's okay. Mick Cronin, on the other hand.
Moment a little hot right now because that momentum is slipping away in the final moments. And if you give this Arizona Wildcat team,
I have never seen anything like the way he just literally throws people under the bus. Not just a little bit, not just naming them, not just saying, you know, XYZ needs to do a little bit better job of getting inside, you know, or boxing out or whatever. No, Mick just like throws it all out there and he never takes accountability and it just drives me nuts. And then yesterday, after yesterday's loss, oh my goodness, and then I guess there was this kerfuffle, or I don't know, something happened between the Zona Zoo students and
they were taking a
players.
picture.
Yeah, they were taking a
Had their
picture.
phone maybe 2 or 3 feet away. They said inches. It wasn't. It was 2 or 3 feet.
Yeah. So something happened, and the coaches then, like, instead of walking into a locker room and ignoring it, hello, they're kids, they're students, they stop and they get into a verbal confrontation with them. So Justin Spears, who I admire, and I think he's really
He's
good.
a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Justin's great.
He doesn't throw people under the bus ever.
Right. I feel like he asked a solid question about, did Cronin know what happened between the students and the staff? And Mick Cronin just turned into like the evil little elf and like went right at him, pointed his finger, shook his finger in his face, and said, I don't know anything about that, but I don't expect, I wouldn't expect anything of anything. What I can't even remember exactly. But anyway, he wouldn't expect that that he totally would expect that kind of a question coming from Justin. Well, Justin has like no history with Cronin. So I don't know what Cronin was doing. I don't know.
I think he was lashing out because Justin was standing right in front of him. And I don't know. Justin has a sweet face, I don't know if he just found somebody to lash out at. But yeah, unless this whole spitting thing, unless he knew his name from the whole spitting situation last year, I don't know what was said on Twitter or what happened there. I mean, I have no idea, but yeah, I mean, why would you call out the other person's media? I just feel like he felt he blamed the referees. He's going to get in trouble, right?
I was just going to say, ever since that spitting situation happened 2 years ago, actually, as you said, Lori, the coaches should not be interacting with the students as they walk by. Coaches, you're adults, better, so just walk by. Now, UCLA players, what ended up happening in that situation 2 years ago, and obviously it's a very heated rivalry between Arizona and UCLA, but then when you have the students to the student athletes, yes, that's where things got heated in a much, much different way 2 years ago. And I don't know what questions or what things came about from that, so maybe there was some sort of a tie-in, but I just think that really Mick Cronin was just angry, grouchy.
Really angry.
I mean, when I was rewatching some of the game after I got home yesterday and saw him go off on that ref and the things
he said the F word.
I mean, he said it multiple times and directly calling names to the ref. Where I was sitting in McHale, I couldn't see that stuff coming out of his mouth. All I knew is he got the technical, and in my mind, yeah, I'm chanting, get him out of here, tee him up again, get him out. Because he was so heated, I'm like, at this point in time, he does deserve to get ejected. But then when I saw what he was saying, I'm like, how did he not get ejected yesterday?
Right.
I kept yelling at the TV, and I'm like, are you not going to throw him out? Because that was ridiculous. I don't know any other coach that could do that. Well, okay, yeah, I do. Bobby Hurley.
Yeah, you're forgetting he touched the ball.
But I was going to ask, does Bobby Hurley specifically call the refs certain names? I know he cusses, but does he call the refs certain names?
I'm not, honestly, I really hate defending Bobby Hurley, but I haven't, yes, he's cussed. Yes, I've heard, I've seen him call them idiots. I've seen, him call them names, but I have not seen him do what Cronin did yesterday.
And that's where I feel if they didn't nip it in the bud, they're opening the door for coaches everywhere to just like start coming at them in a new way. That it didn't set a good precedent with them shutting Cronin down like that yesterday, because he took it to another level, I think.
Yeah.
Well, you remember when Miller got thrown out of the game and they were playing UCLA? The UCLA coach took his jacket off and threw it into the stands. They didn't tee him up. And we found out at that point that the referees had a plan to get Miller kicked out. Right?
That was
always been this UCLA Arizona stuff. And I know they get together beforehand and they're like, the referees probably, and they're like, this is a one of the biggest games, and this is the last time they're going to be in McHale. But they called a lot of fouls on the other team, but I thought that there were good fouls to call. I mean, I saw a lot of missed calls in the first half. But Cronin's saying that there was like 23 fouls called against his team, which is why they lost the game, and he thought that was cheating, basically.
It was something like Arizona took 26 free throws to their 11, and I'm like, yeah, dude, 2 of those free throws because you got teed up. What are you doing? You know?
It's a great point.
No responsibility, as you said before.
Yeah. But I had a conversation online with I'm on social media with I have a lot of UCLA people who follow me, not a ton, but a good number. And so, and I always joke around. I think you guys, if you follow me on any of the social media, you know that I have like this sarcastic personality, and I like to joke around, and I don't get too serious on there usually. So I was saying something about, good game, super excited. And he's like, yeah, I think, you probably should just thank the refs because, of how many fouls there are called. And I said, well, that's what happens when you go inside. If you start getting the ball inside, you're going to get more fouls called because it gets congested down there. It's going to happen. You hit, you're shooting threes constantly. You're not going to get the fouls called on you. And I said, something like, I don't know, but he was definitely, meaning Cronin, was an angry little elf, right? After the game. And the UCLA player goes, I take offense to that. He's like, there's only one elf around here, and it was, Elf from the Christmas Elf, right? And I'm like, okay, you got me. I'm done. You're right. There is only one elf.
It was really smart on their part because we were winning a clean game. So they just went and made a hold and grab fest, and we couldn't run any offense. All we had was Sebastian at that point to drive the ball because nobody else could drive the ball for us.
Yeah, Mac was Sebastian Mac. He was the only one that was going inside. But that's their offense. Then why aren't you setting up a play? You have big dudes. You have big guys. Set up a play and go inside. But their guards were like threes left and right. So come on. I mean, I will say that there are times that I am like the anti-ref person too. Hey, what are you doing? Or why are you so one-sided? Totally, I'll throw myself under the bus. I've been there. But when you look at the game and you look at the play, go inside. That's where you're going to get your dang fouls.
Their threes stopped falling, and their threes stopped falling, and they started calling fouls, which they always call more in the second half. Arizona's always better in the second half. They're always slow in the first half. This team just kills me in the first half. They're either close to the score or below. They're never like winning going into halftime, no matter what team it is, it seems. But the second half, they seem to find their groove and get warmed up, and yeah.
And it just took yesterday, I think, until the last 7 minutes of the second half to finally get warmed up. And I would have thought with all the energy that was in McHale for multiple reasons, with Benedict Mathurin being there, the entire Indiana Pacers team being there.
Indiana Pacers team.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible to see them come out and support him in that way with his honor yesterday and how his name went into the Ring of Honor. But there was just so much energy in McHale. Like, it felt like a buzzing environment when you walked in there. Like, if you're sensitive to energy, you could feel like the energy was truly electric. And that's where I was struggling with, how is this team just not in it? But thank God, that the rhythm hit and that they were able to start kicking it into gear. They finally got warm with about 7 minutes left. And then we saw that McHale magic help them out too.
Well, let me tell you, I've been in Pauley Pavilion many times when we're playing Arizona, and Cronin gets the benefit of those refs. I can't tell you how many times I sit with my daughters and all their alumni friends, and everybody's like, what? How is that a foul? Oh my God. And they get people fouled out. Like, don't tell me Pauley Pavilion isn't a privileged place, because it definitely is. I've been there. So, and I know, especially against Arizona, it's really hard to win in Pauley since Cronin's been there. So I don't know what's changed, but
are there actually fans in there to see these non-calls?
yeah, they well after Jaime Jaquez and Tiger and all those guys, they had a really good team. I think that Cronin was used to having his guys, and he doesn't have his guys anymore. They're all gone.
Yeah,
He had like 4 or 5 stars. His whole starting lineup was gone. And maybe he's not that coach who's used to getting a whole set of new people to coach, where Tommy knows and Gonzaga and whatever. You gotta every start from scratch every year. You can't just start from like everybody knows everything. No, you gotta start from scratch every year because you have brand new people and your stars leave, either the NBA or other schools or whatever. So
but I'm always so disappointed in both UCLA and USC, not just basketball, but football too. Like, where are the people? Like, where is that support? It's got to be really hard, not just for the coaches, but for the players. What gets Arizona players up? Well, the crowd, like when they're starting to struggle, if McHale's on fire, like it usually is, the crowd stands up and it is loud in there and it gets crazy in there. They don't have that in Pauley or at USC. They just don't have that. Hopefully they will, but I don't see it. And then same with their football, right? Same. It's like
that Rose Bowl.
Yeah, all those empty seats.
But that's in part because they also share the market with professional teams. That's one of those things that's always made Tucson so special. And that, when we were helping to recruit athletes, that it was always like, that was a key differentiating factor. Tucson, you don't have pro sports teams. We have some semi-professional teams, but the U of A is the show in town. And that's why the athletes always get the support. And it's a much different experience in Tucson. ASU struggles to bring in some of that same as well, because you're competing with the Suns, the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, and the LA market. When you think about it, everything that exists in the LA market, from pro teams to all the other different things that you could be doing with your spare time. That's why it's really hard, I think, for those LA schools to pull in the fan base in that capacity.
Yeah, I could definitely say that, Tucson is a college town. It just is. I mean, that's a lot of our job market is at the college. A lot of our population is around the college. And we have huge buy-in as fans and people who cover the journalists and media. We have huge buy-in with these teams, and you're right. In the bigger markets, they just don't have that. I think that
NIL deals.
Yeah, but I think that kind of takes us back to what we just went through with the football program, right?
Right.
So because we have this buy-in, because I'm going to go to the family thing, and they are family. I'm a season ticket holder for football. My family revolves around Arizona football during the fall, because I'm at a game or I'm watching a game or, we're tailgating or whatever. That's a lot of Tucson. Now, are we filling the seats? No, we're not. We need a whole lot more people to turn out to do that. But I can guarantee you that there are a lot of them watching it at home or wherever they live, not just Tucson, because we care. We bought into that. This is our team. This is our family. And I think that's why when Jedd left, we had hook, line, and sinker. We were in on Jedd Fisch, right? We listened to him. We believed him. We rallied around him.
So did the players.
We were getting that stadium filled. We were on board 100%. Start the plane up. We're riding with you. And then it was like somebody dropped a bomb.
To reassure nervous Arizona fans that you reportedly have not signed a new contract extension yet, is that something that's going to get done shortly? And is that where you want to be?
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate you asking. I think right now we're working through semantics to get this deal done. I think we're very, very close. We want to be done here very soon, and we want to be a part of this program for a long time. I've moved a lot in this business to be able to be here today, to become a head coach in a Power 5 program, to win 10 games, to be a top 15 team, hopefully a top 10. And we've got 18 out of 22 returning starters next year. So I have no interest in going anywhere. I have a lot of interest in seeing if we can get to that CFP. And there's 12 teams in it next year. And I would love to have our team be part of it. It has been a whirlwind few days. I loved my time at U of A. I am truly grateful for the people there who believed in me and my vision on how to turn a program around and turn it into national prominence. I promised to leave the program better than I found it. We did that. We're proud of that. For that, I will always be grateful to President Robbins, to Dave Heeke, the athletic director at University of Arizona, and the entire community. I did not take the decision to come to University of Washington lightly. But once President Kelsey and once Athletic Director Dannon showed me what is possible in Seattle and what their vision of the future looks like, there was no answer other than yes.
When it was announced that he was going to leave. And man, the anger that came out from people, it was just nuts. And I can tell you that as a season ticket holder, as a Wildcat Club member, but also a member of the media, I can tell you that I was going back and forth, right? I was angry. But you know who I was angry for? I was angry for those players.
Yeah.
They just got totally walloped from the side. You know, they were ready for
felt like a divorce, like I was dumped.
Yeah. They were cheated on, right? They were cheated on.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you can a lot of times equate sports to relationships and that heartbreak, especially because you become so emotionally invested. And I'm right there with you, Lori, you know, as a season ticket holder myself, alumni, I worked with the football program while I was in school as a student on top of it. The amount of heartbreak that I felt, like last Sunday, like my whole day got thrown to shreds as everything evolved. But instantaneously, the first people that I'm thinking about are the players, their families, because they're the ones that have put in that commitment. You know, they have that even closer relationship. So yes, and, you know, as a fan, as a Wildcat, you know, as a supporter, we feel that burn just as bad, but they're feeling it 10 times more than we are, really. You know, that it's really, truly personal to them, and that they're told so many things along their way and along their journey when they're picking a college to go to, that it's like they're trying to decipher between all the noise. Like there's all this static noise, and it's like, what's the clear message coming through that's going to resonate with them, that's going to be in the best interest of them? And then the person that they picked all of a sudden is doing something different than what they had been told was going to take place. It's understandable to be very upset, to be angry, to be mad, to feel, you know, like you're dead to me. But at the same time, too, I know that Noah's dad this morning, he had a post that he put out, and I thought it was really, really important. And I think a lot of fans really need to take time to read that post, in the sense that we all need to be thankful for the time that Jedd Fisch was here in Tucson. You know I was angry myself, but I was also, truthfully, I was kind of upset at administration, because it felt like, why didn't we get them locked down before the bowl game? You know, when you perform at your job, you're pouring your heart and soul into everything, and you're overperforming even, you want to feel appreciated and valued, and you want to feel recognized. And if your employer's not doing that, which is what I kind of saw to be the case, you know, it's easy to all of a sudden feel that temptation if somebody comes knocking at the door. Now, whether or not, you know, there's always two sides to every story, and then factual truth too. Whatever the case, what happened there, Noah's dad brought up a good point, though, that we would not be in the place that we are today if we hadn't had this assist, not only from the players are that big key component to it, but Jedd Fisch helped to orchestrate bringing in the right specialty coaches, the right staff, the right personnel to support this team. He also, I mean, we need to give him props, because we were down in the bottom of the barrel in terms of morale around this program. And the fact that he was able to start getting people excited about coming back out to the spring game, turning it into an alumni weekend and embracing the former players that have played and worn the A for the Wildcats, embracing those guys and creating a bridge between generations to help bring that brotherhood back to the program, which is a really important piece of sports, especially on men's sports. But without him, we wouldn't be where we are today. And so I think we needed that boost, that injection from him, like that he gave us that, I guess it was like drinking an energy drink, right? That we got that boost. And now we're in a much better place today. And then with Brent Brennan coming in, I think we're going to see a great coach here. Of course, everybody needs to give him a chance, the players, the families, the fans. But now that we have that foundation in place, that's a solid foundation, a great team that yesterday, the way that they made that statement, that they are a family, that they're not going anywhere, loyalty, legacy, family, faith, home. There were so many key words that if you pull out of that message that they said, we have the opportunity to do something great. And maybe now we have the right person leading us to take things even longer term. And so for that, I am thankful for what we had the last few years to get to a better place today. The goodbye, the way that it all happened, yeah, it sucks and it hurt. But at the same time, too, we're all human. And so I think Noah's dad in his post really put it well, though, that we need to look at the big picture of things and then just move forward.
I totally agree.
You don't want enemies, right? So the smartest thing, and it was probably the hardest thing, was for Noah and T-Mac to even on their podcast, they had no hard feelings. They didn't think 3 minutes was a bad thing. I mean, we all thought it was a bad thing. They didn't. So they have learned from their family that not to trash talk, right? To always keep friends, because you never know. I think Jedd Fisch doesn't want to be a college coach. I think all of us thought, oh, he loves the college. I think he wants to be an NFL coach. And these are just all stepping stones for him. And I don't think we understood that. I don't think the players understood that. I don't think Fisch thought it would happen as fast. But the Washington coach, he didn't blink. He didn't even have a meeting with his players. So he
had 7 minutes. No, he had 7 minutes of a meeting with his players.
The players got on and said he didn't even talk to me. He didn't talk to us.
Yeah, I guess it was
found out in social media.
Yeah, so from what I've heard is he did, but it was like somebody said, do you want 3 minutes and somebody says peace out to you, or do you want 7 minutes with somebody crying and all the drama and then saying peace out, So it's like,
I wish I knew what's really the truth, because I saw the players were getting on social media saying the dude just left. We didn't even meet with us or anything.
I think it was how they found out on SportsCenter.
How they found out.
And then I do think he addressed things with them. Now, I don't know if it was in person, if it was a Zoom or something like that. But, Lori, you said a key point. Whether it's 7 minutes, whether 3 minutes, as a player, you're going to be hurt. But I think Noah and T-Mac both put it in a great spot on their podcast, was saying had it been any longer, it just would have felt fake probably. I think is kind of what they were saying without saying maybe those exact words. And, that there's not a lot to be said at that point.
He's in a hurry. He had to get home and sign that $7-8 million a year contract. He didn't even have time to pull the sign from out his front door.
How we doing, man?
I was hoping you'd answer the door. The door. I think our days are going the same right now.
They're all the same right now. All right.
It's all right, my friend. I look forward to working with you.
Man, this will be great. I look forward to it. I'll give you everything I have.
I know you that.
Like he had to get home. That guy was meeting him with the plane. So I understand all that. I think the problem was I heard that he had a PowerPoint presentation with the team the night before, telling them how family's important, stay together. They learned that and they stayed together. But it's like your boss saying you're the best thing, we're really going to do things, and by the way, I quit. That happened to me in my life. It's happened. It's all good lessons in my eyes. It's all good lessons. I'm not over it yet. I still feel dumped. Still not, the respect level came down. But what I think is a good thing is Brent Brennan, who I wasn't sold on to begin with, He's always wanted this job, number one. Number two, all the alumni love him. He's bringing in more alumni. He is the family guy who wants to be here for a very long time. I don't think his aspirations are to leave Tucson. His aspiration was to be in Tucson. His family are all Wildcats, right? His brother played, his wife was there. And then he was able to get to know the guys enough for them to feel like this, you're the family. I'm just coming in. And this is unprecedented. Honestly, for the team to say, my coach can leave, but the most of us, we're going to stay. I think it's going to change a lot of stuff because this has become a business and the NCAA hasn't done anything. It's the Wild Wild West. Every season is different, new rules. They just throw out new rules about transferring. And it's like, how do you navigate this whole thing? But the portal's been screwed up so many people's careers. They don't look at Jaden DeLaura. Where is he? Texas State. Where are these people? Like, they have to just settle for another college because they don't want to sit there for 3 years and see if they get another chance, or I don't know. It's just the whole portal thing is a mess.
So I've been very vocal, and I have said it multiple times on Twitter X in conversations that, I truly blame the NCAA and their lack of oversight on the NIL process and the transfer portal process. And that until they get their crap together, it is going to be, and I've used that term, it's the wild, wild west in the college football world right now, because there is just no oversight. And it doesn't just hurt Arizona, it hurts everybody across the board. I mean, let's take a look at this. Alabama, Saban retires, okay? That starts a wave to find a new coach. They find it in DeBoer out of Washington. So then that opens that up. Then they find a new coach in Jedd Fisch. So that opens the Arizona coaching position up. And we find it in Brent Brennan. Now SJSU is trying to find a coach. But here's the thing about that. Those players in those 4 programs can go into the portal. They can leave.
They have 30 days.
But all the other players across the country cannot. So let's take Washington, for example. They were depleted. I mean, like, scary depleted in almost every position. And because people went to the NFL, transfer portal, whatever. So they have 3 places, well, 2 basically, 2 places they can find players to fill those spots: the portal and recruit, out of high school, right? So of course they're going to come after players. Of course they're going to do that. Same with Arizona. We're going to have to do that because nobody else can transfer,
right,
other than the student athletes from those schools that were affected. So what a screwed up mess that is.
Yeah. Lost a few recruits, already went with Fisch, the quarterback. And then we lost Jonah Coleman.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Jonah Coleman didn't surprise me at all. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
The quarterback too. He was recruited by Brent Carroll, right?
Yeah.
And Fisch, so he's going to go over there. That makes sense.
It just depends. I mean, look at Stacey Bay. He was recruited by them to come over, and he's staying right where he is. A lot of them felt like part of the family, right? And they feel good about what they did last year. And with this team, with the majority of the team, any coach coming in with the right attitude has a really good chance in the Big 12 to win the whole thing. So Jedd might kick himself in the butt for all the work he's going to have to put in here. And we're tired of rebuilding. So that was the biggest gift in the world, that the players decided to stay.
world.
I do believe because I have some Washington contacts, and I've been talking to them. I do believe that they 100% believed that they would get Coleman, Manu, T-Mac, and Fafita if Jedd came over. I think that Jedd thought he was going to get Manu, Coleman, T-Mac, and Fafita to come with him. And when that didn't happen, I think he had to step back again, right? You saw them, the Washington staff, out offering like a lot in the last few days. And so I think they had to like kick it in the butt, right? They're like, oh my gosh, they're not coming.
After
We can't
taking that
entice them
photo
over.
in the Tucson airport,
Yeah.
family travels.
Yeah. I think I was, I don't know. Some of those coaches I have really good relationships with, and I really like them. And as I told one of them today, I don't care what colors you wear. If you're a good person, you're a good person, and you're a great person. And so I don't care if you're at Washington or at Arizona. It doesn't change my mind about the person that you are, right?
Lori, it all comes around.
Yeah.
They might be back at Arizona. Who knows?
Yeah. It's
Oh
just,
yeah, and the coaching world's
He
a
was
small
off to
world.
Texas. He's coming back.
The coaching world's a very small world.
Very small world.
That's not a big pool to pull from. So, but you know, with all of that said, I do think, Lori, everything you said there, yeah, spot on. Because even yesterday, Coach Fisch on Twitter X, I want to call it Twitter. I struggle with calling it
I
X.
just call it Twitter.
I call it Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
Every
So,
time.
but anyways,
It's
he
Twitter.
tweeted or he posted, you know, that it's about to go down. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, you know, and then we know Jacob Salega had tweeted out some oranges a few days before.
And then you had
saying
to
watch
decipher
things for
that.
Saturday. But watching with that one that said it's about to go down, and then I want to say it was maybe 45 minutes to an hour later is when the first video from Gunnar Maldonado, Tradon, and Dalton Johnson all dropped at the same time saying, thank you, Tucson, thank you, Tucson, thank you, Tucson. Initially, my gut without even watching the video was like, that could go one of two ways. What do you mean, thank you, Tucson? And then when watching the video, it was just like, oh my gosh, what a cool way for all three guys to say, nope, we're here. And then to set the tone and the stage for what was going to take place in McHale when Noah and T-Mac said they're not going anywhere, and that the rest of the team, though, to bring them out on the court with them. So when I thought back to Fisch's tweet of it's about to go down, I thought, I think he really thought that maybe he was still going to pull the big players from Arizona his way. And we knew Jonah was up there on that recruiting visit, and that the night before Jonah, you know, was in the UW gear. So it was looking more and more like, okay, he's probably going to end up at UW. But I really think Fisch thought that he was going to pull these guys and he was going to have a massive, like, hey, explosive type of breaking news moment. And that didn't come for him yesterday, unless there was something else he was planning to unleash or announce. But instead, you know, our boys showed that the values that they have and that they bring to the table, that they've all been raised by amazing families and understand the true meaning of family and what families do for each other. Like, even reading, besides the fact that Noah and T-Mac, it didn't sound like UW was even in consideration for them. Alabama was, right? But the NIL money that those two guys are getting, you know, this brought me to tears yesterday when I read it and shared it with my family. But they're sharing their NIL money with other team members and spreading the wealth around so that more players have that opportunity to get some NIL funds. And it's like that, you do not see that in people in general too often anymore, yet alone in young adults. And that made me just so honored, like all around, like everything that played out. I'm like, man, I'm so proud to be a Wildcat. I'm honored to have these guys representing for our school. Like, these are leaders, and these are great people for kids in the community to be looking up to, kids of alumni as they're watching games, that it's like, these are quality guys. And we're so fortunate at the University of Arizona to have them representing our school and being out there on the field for us.
Well, I think all the fans were so supportive of them. You know, when they wanted Nanston, we wanted him. Like, whatever they want, what do you want? And we told them, you be legends here. They're going to be legends for doing this. And it just shook, I think, the whole NCAA. And I also, I was shedding tears in that first one where we're not going anywhere. It's going to have to take a wrecking ball to get us out of here. Like, I loved it like so much because we've been wanting that. We've been wanting the team to be cohesive, and with all the firings of coaches and drunk coaches and all this shit, we finally had a good coach, and we finally were on the up and up, and we weren't rebuilding anymore. And we were on the top, and we were ranked number 11, and we, you know, it was like we were finally there, and I was like, oh God. So yeah, I mean, a lot of tears yesterday, like a lot of tears yesterday. For me, I was just like blotting my eyes, you know, and then the T-Mac video, and then the Jacob, you know, we love Jake, right? Laura, you and I were fortunate enough to interview these guys before they even got to Arizona. They were already a family.
Yeah. T-Mac, T-Mac wasn't committed yet, but Noah, Key, and Manu were all in our interview. We were calling them the Servite Three because at that point there was only three. And then when T-Mac switched from Oregon to Arizona, that was pretty exciting. But yes, we had to. So here's the thing. I had a heads up that was going to happen, that was all going down. And so it's trying to throw out hints, right? To like, keep people from freaking out, especially after Jedd Fisch put up that it's all going down thing. And I was talking to some Washington people, and they're like, no, our 7 versus 7 guy, Ford, is saying that they're coming. And I'm like, then he's wrong. And they're like, why would they give up millions of dollars in NIL money not to come, you know, they would be giving that up to stay at Arizona. Why would they give that up and not come to Washington? And I said,
all about the money.
That's what I said. I said, because you don't know these families. You don't know how they were raised. We do. Arizona fans know, and media knows. We know how they were raised. We know it's not about the money. It is about family. It is about culture. It is about loyalty. There's big things. You know, you want to tell me that Alabama wasn't throwing some big bucks at them? You better bet they were.
A long way away from Orange County or
right. Yeah, and Mama Fief. You know, I mean, I'm telling you that somebody needs to hire her. You know, Mama Fafita needs to have a job somewhere. That lady is fire. She's just amazing. And you know. You were talking earlier about Noah's dad's post. It's just that ingrained in them. They are just good people. And yeah, maybe Jedd brought them to Arizona, but there's a way to treat people and there's a way to not treat people. And when you treat good people not well, that's going to have some repercussions. And I think Jedd figured that out yesterday.
Also, it's good for the NFL when these guys go to the draft. They're always going to. This is a story. It's going to be told in the NFL when they're playing. You know, it's like when they all came together as a team and said, "We're staying." You know,
In fact, Shereen, I said that to my dad last night as we were talking about things, and I'm like, "This is so good for them because if I were an owner of an NFL team, why would I not want those guys on my team?" You know, those guys are going to get a community behind you even stronger, your fan base behind you in a different way. But those are quality guys that you don't have to worry about with some scandalous story in the news at some point in time, likely. Instead, that they're just going to keep doing good. And also, too, for their decisions and sharing the wealth, you know, choosing their values over money. I only hope that their blessings come tenfold to them down the road and just continue to come their way. I mean, like, it's incredible. And yeah, if I were an NFL owner, I would want them on my team for sure.
It's the character that you want, right?
Yeah.
That's the leader. That's the character for the leaders of that team that you want. I don't care who you are. That's what you're looking for. But all they're going to have to do is bring that NFL owner to the statue and the whole mural that will be made from this whole team, and especially that core group of kids, right? They're going to be legends here. I don't even care if they only stay till next year. They are going to be legends here.
Oh yeah, no, legends for sure. And that Stuff the Bus event that took place on Friday, a great thing. I don't even know if it was on the schedule ahead of time. Truthfully, I don't know. It wasn't on my purview prior to this week. But to know that you had a couple of basketball players that were out there, I think Caleb Love was out there, maybe Kashad Johnson, but Noah and T-Mac, it was definitely well known that they were out there. And there was a post that came out of that is just like a cuteness overload photo. And it's the one that a grandparent posted of their little girl, or granddaughter, I should say, not their little girl, but granddaughter. And it was the 100th day of school. So she was dressed up as an old lady with a little curly wig and, glasses. But the joy on her face in between those two guys, and in some ways, I don't even know she totally knows who they are. She may, but the joy that she had just in the excitement of being there, and then the joy in their faces, I'm like, that is a photo that forever. It's just like, that really sums up part of who those two boys are. But not just the two boys, the entire team, that entire team that walked out onto McHale Center with them yesterday. And that it's just like, those are the guys that we have representing our school. And it's an exciting thing. I can't wait for the 2024 season. I'm like, all right, I already knew I was renewing my season tickets anyways, but now I'm like, oh, I'm so pumped. And I think I saw something about like 230 something days to football season start,
right?
From another person on Twitter. And I was like, I'm so ready. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait to get back in there. I'm going to sound like this in September. I sound like this today because of yesterday.
I was going to say, you were yelling so loud. I was like, is she going to have a voice tomorrow? But I was happy because when you're yelling on the video, and Carissa's video is all I saw because I'm in LA. I couldn't even be there. But I'm watching Carissa's video, and like tears are streaming down my face. I would have been screaming like, I sometimes scream so loud at sporting events that I get a light head. I get a little dizzy. That's how loud I screamed. I was like, oh, Carissa, I would have been right next to you, just screaming my head off.
Oh, this is me from being a football season ticket holder, women's basketball season ticket holder. And then I go to a couple of men's games throughout the season, basically once football season starts till basketball season ends. And then on top of it, with my day job, anytime I'm traveling for work and at a trade show or conference, and it's, a good number of people, 1,000 people in loud rooms, I start to sound like this for about a 6-month period, on and off, on and off. So.
Yeah. And then Lori, you were talking about small town versus big town. If Noah and T-Mac were walking down the street in Seattle, no one would give them two looks. Yeah, but Noah and T-Mac walking downtown in Tucson, everybody's going to turn their head because it's just a different feel. You are a king in Tucson versus just another person walking down the street in these big cities.
And that's good and bad, right? They'll be able to be a little bit anonymous in Seattle, going downtown Seattle or whatever, until they run into a super fan or something. Yeah. Here, they're in McDonald's and somebody will recognize them in 2 seconds, right? You can't hide. But I think that is what draws the kids here, though. They want that recognition, right? Good or bad, really. I mean, look at poor Gunnar Maldonado. He was getting lambasted at the beginning of the year.
Even the media, not me, but the media were killing him. And I remember, my side job with Arizona Media is I work with Brian Jeffries and Lamont, and I'm spot tackles for them. And I was pointing to him constantly. So I don't know what everybody was talking about. He's a waste. He's a this. No, I keep pointing to his name. If you're not paying attention, he was getting a lot of tackles, and I'm like, it was Jacob and Gunnar and Jacob and Gunnar and Ephesian and Jacob and Gunnar, and it's like it was the same people over and over. And my little insight here is Brian and Lamont have been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing with them for about 10 years now. we haven't won a game till I think it was we beat UCLA 2 years ago. That was the most fun we've ever had as a group. And then we almost beat USC, and Dave Heeke was running in and out of the booth because he was so excited about possibly winning that I got to stand with Dave Heeke, and then I ran into their booth to because we went to triple overtime, and Robbins was in there, and Heeke was in. They travel with the football team, like they have their own little place over there, and just exciting, like we could win this feeling, and he was like, I don't want to say nervous, but he was so full of adrenaline. So for people also to say that Heeke doesn't care, oh my God, they have no idea. He cares.
Yeah, no, I think Heeke cares. I think, I did
You finally can be happy.
Yeah.
And my point is, like, even Brian and Lamont are giggling now. Like, they can giggle. It's not a 1-11 season. It's hard.
Well, football's fun again. And that's, we need it, but Coach Fisch helped to make it fun for us again. And we can't discredit that. But Brent Brennan, I think, is really going to continue to carry forward the fun. And that's why I'm really looking forward to it.
So, here's the thing about that. And this is what I love about it. So while I was on vacation, believe this or not,
I was so much.
While I was on vacation, Justin did a Twitter Live or whatever, Spaces.
Speaking,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got on there as one of the speakers, and it was like, I think I got done at 3:30 in the morning, and I was on vacation, and I think I got 3 hours of sleep that day. But anyway, to the point is that during that Spaces, there was alumni on there, football players, and we all said on that Spaces that the best hire would be an internal hire, somebody who is familiar with the system, whether that was Carroll, whether that was Nansen, whether it was bringing Keena back, whoever that was, it needed to be internal to keep the group together, right? And across the board, I think we all agreed on that. Mm-hmm. So and the other thing that we agreed on is that Jedd was only going to be there another year. I mean, I think we all understood that Jedd was only going to be there another year, because probably the Florida job was going to come up. Or
it did come up.
Job was going to come up. Yeah. Well, they're not yet, but yeah, they're in trouble, so it could come up. But or there's going to be an NFL job that opened up. So I think in a lot of fans' minds, and especially on that Spaces, we really only had him another year, but we were going to live fully for that year and enjoy every moment, right? But then it came down to it needs to be an internal hire. So the other thing that a lot of people agreed on is that, let's not blame Jedd Fisch about this. This was, a big ball dropping from administration. That they should have been working on this in October. They should have been working on this way before they did. But if you've been around the program for very long, that's just how Arizona works. They swear they have the slowest process ever. Plus, we have to deal with Abor, right? Yeah. And they have to give the okay. And Abor didn't want to meet. Abor didn't want to have a special session, so it wasn't going to be till February before they could approve anything. Jedd could have signed the contract, everything could have gone in, but it couldn't get approved until February. And so Abor drug their feet. And remember, Abor is not made up of just athletic people. Abor is there are very few people who are keyed into athletics. It's just not that group of people. So probably it wasn't as, fire as it was to Arizona. So everybody kind of agreed. Yeah, Jedd holds some blame here, but the administration definitely holds blame, and the system we have in Arizona with Abor and the 5-year contract holds a huge blame.
Yeah, because Alabama, they turned on a dime. Washington turned on a dime, and but he did promise and handshake with Umberto, who was working for him this whole time. So
yeah, well, that's where it got kind of little. I mean, everybody's like putting snake. I haven't done that. I'm not going to do
oh,
that.
I'm never going to do
no.
that to a person.
Yeah,
But
No.
it is
not
a
that
yucky
person.
thing
He'll get his
because,
Cummins. He'll get his upcomings, whatever
and I
happens.
agree, I'm not going down that road.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
But somebody had said today on one of my posts, that Jedd silver tongue, and I said, he did have a silver tongue, right? But I think that what he just did, not that a lot of people wouldn't have done that because it was more money, right?
A lot of people chase the bag.
Yeah, but what he just did, he misled players, right? And he misled fans. Did he mean to when he did that? Probably not. But in the end, he did. So, his silver tongue's there, but now he's starting to make a name for himself, right? People are going to start questioning a little bit more than what they would have before. He set himself up with a great group of coaches, period.
Yeah.
Those coaches moved with him, probably, basically to the person, other than the ones that were associated with Arizona.
We're probably happier now because I don't know if they were that happy under Fisch. They were happy to get a job, but I think they wanted bigger roles, honestly.
Yeah, well, and
even Carrie came out and had to say how great Chuck's been.
Also, though, too, with his coaches that followed him, none of those coaches knew who was going to come into Arizona. We have to keep that in mind, too.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen Coach Graham, Coach Richardson, those two especially, stood out to me. That I would have loved to have seen them stay. And then, of course, Kevin Cummings. But none of them knew who was coming to Arizona until we locked in our coaches, or our coach, I should say. And because of that, it didn't mean that they were going to have an automatic spot, because the coach that comes into Arizona may want to pull in his own guys. So when you're in a push come to shove type of situation, and I know Coach Cummings was the last, I think, to commit to UW. But at that point in time, like with some of those other coaches, you got to make the best decision for you and your family and for the direction of your career. And so I don't blame, you can't put fault for any of them for the decisions that they made.
No, exactly. And when we were talking on the spaces, I'll get back to that, we were saying it should be an internal hire. And so when it was leaked that it was probably going to be Brennan, I think we all kind of went, whoa, what? Like, how's this going to work now? Are we going to lose the whole team? So there was a bit of a panic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, okay. But then you started looking at it. And you know what? He is an internal guy, right? His wife is alumni. His brother played here. He was an assistant, or why did I just
a grad assistant? Yeah,
grad assistant. Jeez, my brain just went
under Tony. Same year that you were a freshman, Carissa.
Yeah, he was. He was a grad assistant when I was a freshman. Brad was a senior when I was a freshman. They were both on Coach Tomey's team that year.
Yeah. So he was a grad assistant under Tomey at Arizona. He coached under Tomey at SJSU, right? So when you started looking at who Brent Brennan is, he is internal. Like, he didn't coach right now, but he's got the type of background that fits well at Arizona. I mean, think about Jedd Fisch when he first came here. What did he start preaching right away? Dick Tomey, Tomeyisms, right? He was using Tomeyisms constantly. Dick Tomey. Brent Brennan's got the same thing, right? I mean, he's got Tomeyisms. Not only did he know Tomey, he was very close to Tomey. So what better fits here, right? So I have to give props to Brent Brennan about reaching out to those players. I think I read somewhere that he
hung out with them.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about his coaches. He didn't want to talk about who was going to be there. That he wanted to spend, I think it was like 13 hours he spent
Yeah.
That may be an exaggeration. I don't know, but that's the number that's sticking in my head. Just getting to know the players, huge. Not only that, he is genuine. I mean, there is no sliminess. There is nothing but genuineness of a real human there, right? There's no putting on airs.
Here. That's the thing I was saying. Like, this is his destiny.
Well, this was his job. This was the job he has always wanted, and he almost had it when Fisch was hired, right? Dave Heeke wanted him. Dave Heeke wanted, at least this is what I've been told, Dave Heeke wanted Brennan. But that
$5 million. So it's a big savings over Fisch. It's like half.
Yeah, but that at the time, Robbins was cheerleading for Fisch, and Fisch then was hired. And Brent Brennan has been clear on record saying that he was very disappointed because this is his ultimate home. This is where he wants to be. So kudos to Brent Brennan for coming back at it. And when somebody reached out to him and being willing,
being bigger than
right.
Well, I think that timing's everything, even though it wasn't his timing 3 years ago. I don't know whether he would have been the right coach to resurrect things the way we are to the point we are right now. He may have, or may have taken longer. That's for sure, because I never expected, I knew we were going to continually get better, but I did not expect us to have the season that we just had this season. And so when we look at the timing of everything, I think if everything, the stars have aligned for Coach Brennan now to be in a position with a team that's ready to rock and roll, and it's just serendipitous, even to the point that I had heard his brother Brad was on business in Tucson this week when he found out he was definitely going to be the head coach. So it wasn't even like Brad was supposed to be here in Tucson. And then Brad was able to then be there with him walking into the Arizona football stadium, be there at the press conference, I believe. I know Brent even said, like, I think Brad's someplace in here. There's so many people in here. I don't know. But that he was pretty sure he was still in Tucson. And then to see Brad on the court with him the night that we played USC, for the brothers to be able to experience this together, that's serendipity. So I think the stars have been aligning here for Brent Brennan, and that now is his timing.
I agree.
We got KD to come to a game to see Bronny, but just had sat 2 seats away from the 2 guys we wanted to stay in Tucson. Everything kind of came together.
They were the bigger celebrities that night.
They were
over
like,
Kevin Durant.
Is that for me? No, dude, that's for those 2.
Yeah, Brennan, taking the media piece of my personality out of it, as a fan and as a ticket holder, season ticket holder, I am really happy with Brent Brennan. And here's why. I think that he is going to bring that loyalty, family, legacy, home feeling to not just this team, but anybody that comes in. Mm-hmm. He is going to stay. We need that so badly. The only way I think Brent Brennan's going to leave is if he gets fired, literally. I mean, I think he is here to stay. And so as somebody who spends personal money to be at these games, and I'm sure you're the same way, Carissa, it's just...
absolutely.
To see somebody who's going to stay here, build a program, and become the face of that program for years to come is huge. Was he my first pick? No, I was all on board with it. It needs to be internal. It needs to be Carol. It needs to be Nansen. It needs to be Tina. It needed to be them. But after I stepped back from that and really looked at the hire, home run. And Dave Heeke needs to be congratulated for that.
I would agree. And I appreciate it. And I know I tweeted out immediately Sunday. In fact, it was at 3:33 p.m. because I took a screenshot when I saw the alert come through from ESPN, and that was a part of my tweet. But that I said, Heeke, you need to move quick. Administration, basically, I think I said, you need to move quick with transparency for the players and their families.
Yeah.
And much, much quicker and much more transparent than what had been going on with all the, hey, basically keeping Coach Fisch here. So I definitely applaud Heeke for that. He deserves a lot of credit that he was able to orchestrate things with transparency, with class, because that is the other key thing. I've always, UW was someplace I almost went for grad school. So I do have a special spot in my heart, typically for the Huskies or for the University of Washington. I've gone to a lot of U of A, Washington football games in Seattle as well. But I really took note to how their athletic director or their administration orchestrated timing on things. It just felt slimy. It didn't feel good. Like there were little stingers and I didn't appreciate that. And so when seeing Dave Heeke and the way that we've approached everything this week, and, I give him mad respect for the fact that all of it's been approached with class. And I think that's a really important piece, and that he did move quick and he was transparent about everything. And then the way that we've put out some announcements and put out some big pushes, to put out the pizzazz that needed to happen to indicate this team's not going anywhere. Again, it's all been done very classy. And that makes me appreciative for the decisions that were made. But I'm right there with you that I wanted either Nansen or Carroll is who I thought one of those two would have been the right decision. I love Coach Akina. I am a Coach Akina fan through and through. Growing up in Hawaii, I have mad respect for Coach Akina, or Ho'ihi is the term in Hawaiian. And but that one thing that stood out to me from the press conference when Brent Brennan did that on, what was it? I want to say Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. The days are all mixed up now. But the day that he did the press conference for the media and for the public, basically, and that public announcement was made, there was a key thing that he said that really stood out to me. And that was that when it comes down to it with his players, it's about the person first. He's got to make sure that these guys are in a good spot as a person first, because then the rest just comes into play for football. And Victor Yates, he happened to agree with that 100%. He's a former Wildcat football player. If you don't follow him, he has great perspective on a lot of things. He's an administrator today. And so he really is able to bring both sides to the equation. But I think that it's really going to be very valuable and important here that as we move forward as a program to maintain success, it's going to be about the people first that the players are, and that we have to support them as people. And so I'm really excited that that's the approach that Coach Brennan's taking.
I totally agree. And going back to the UW administration and how they did that, I agree. It just felt slimy to me. Yeah. I mean, who comes and flies in and goes to your house? And I mean, that's just, is it wrong? I don't know. I'm not the one to say if it's right or wrong. It just feels weird, but it's how UW's done it. They did it with DeVore too. They flew in to his home and signed him. And then they flew out for Jedd and signed him. It's just not typically how it's done. You fly the coach in and then sign it when the coach gets there. You don't typically go to their home.
It was just,
yeah. But I will say the UW fan base, like over the years, and that's where I kind of was getting with that. And that was the one thing I didn't say, I think, was that the UW fan base, they're a classy fan base. Like they've always been respectful, and I know a lot of them have reached out saying, hey, we really feel for you guys with how this was all handled. Like, of course, they're hurt with how their coach was just snagged down to Alabama. So I still think like UW fans, classy fans, also good fans, good people. I just didn't appreciate how their administration went about it, because I think administration controls a lot of that tone. And so I'm really happy that our administration at Arizona has taken the high road and just approached things with grace and class.
I will, huge shout out to, because to a person.
Absolutely.
And I think I made a post about it, right? Because I said, big kudos. I have had so many Washington people come on my post and say, God, we feel for you. We feel so horrible for you. We're there right now. We've been there. Now it's horrible that we have to do this to you. And I actually made some really good through Washington and that I've been, private messaging and stuff with, and some of their boards and administrators of their boards, fan boards, and we're going back and forth and giving each other information, and they just have been really good. You always have those few. I had a couple, but you always have those few. But I have a huge history in Washington. My daughter was born in the state of Washington. The other side of Washington than where Seattle is, but I worked, and our corporate offices were in Seattle, and so I was there constantly. My husband and I have been to games there. I'm a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. I'm surprised I haven't sprouted wings and it's like the Seahawks going down there. But I have huge connections, a lot of family in the area, a lot of friends in the area. So for me, him going to Washington wasn't so much about Washington, right? It was how it was all done. It was how it all played out. Good for him for the money. Good for him. Possibly going to a better situation. We'll see. Cupboard's pretty bare right now. They're having to put some cups and saucers in there to get it full again. But possibly a better situation. Definitely a better NIL situation. Although I will tell you that one of my contacts with that runs one of their big fan boards, kind of like Jason runs his, it's kind of the equivalent of that.
Okay.
He messaged me and he said they need to do a 30-on-30 about your NIL, your not coalition. What is it? The Friends of Wilbur and Wilma.
Yeah.
It's the Desert Takeover now. They got renamed.
Yeah. Oh, they got it. Yeah. So Desert Takeover. He's like, they need to do a 30-on-30 on that group. He said, because they are killing it. And he's like, they reach out, people respond. He's like, we don't have that here. We just have a lot of people with a lot of money, right? He's like, we don't have like the people who will just give whatever they have, right? But that again goes back to, we are a college town.
And we're a community. And even if you can only give $5 or $10 here or there, it's a little contribution. You don't have to be someone that drops a $5,000 contribution every time.
That's right. And I think that's kind of what he was getting at. They have the big dollars, but their community themselves doesn't rally like ours does. And they don't have that NIL group that is so active like ours is, right? Okay, you know what? They can probably blow us out of the water with their NIL stuff, but that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they're going to attract the guys who want the money and not the guys looking for a family and a good experience. And the only thing I really a little concerned with is we really need to get more people into the NFL. I did hear Flanagan's name yesterday during the 49er. I think he humble.
Yes. I was like, so, I think you both know and anybody who's watching this knows that my father passed away recently, right? And November 11th, huge San Francisco fan, huge. Like from the time that I can remember, he's been a San Francisco 49ers fan. So when Flanagan, when he popped that ball out and it started going, I like jumped off the couch and I was like, come on. All I wanted was for him to get that dang ball. And of course, Green Bay gets it. But I was like, oh, but yes, we've got, Ray Lopez. Let's look at that. We've got some really good guys in the NFL, or those that have played in the NFL that no longer do. Okay, why can't I say his name right now?
Teddy.
All of a sudden I just went, what?
We have a lot. And the thing is, Brennan's going to keep them around, which I love. That's the thing, that we finally got the alumni back, and they're
to see Bobby Wade announced to the coaching staff yesterday. I was like, okay, Bobby was on the team when I was in school, and talk about when I'm going through my tweets as I'm waking up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing news, because the energy he brought then, absolutely incredible. I almost, and it's not a fair comparison, but Justin Flo brings energy like no other player. Bobby Wade's energy was a little bit like that. Not quite, though, fully Justin Flo level.
Not quite over the top like that, eh?
No, but I mean, I love Flo and appreciate all that he brings that way. And I was watching him on the court yesterday too, just, while he was down there. But I think it'll be great to have Bobby Wade back on the staff. It warmed my heart big time when he switched over his Twitter background finally. And I was like, okay, it's good to see your alma mater back on there. And, there's a lot of great things to look forward in this program.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Everybody really loved Cummins, right? The team really loved him. They're going to absolutely love Wade. I mean, they are going to love him.
And he bleeds the colors. So he knows it. He's been on that field. He's, he'll be able to relate to them in another way. And I meant it when I said it, that him and T-Mac, I see them making history because Bobby Wade holds records. I really do think that we're going to see him look to take T-Mac to a whole other level. And it's like, all right, dude, let's make new records. Let's make history here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about this season coming. And I think that maybe this is a good note to wrap it up. Because we can probably go for 4 hours.
I'm telling you that Spaces that I was on went for 7 hours.
Lori, I was on it also listening, and I think I fell asleep. I heard you talk, and I knew you were on vacation, and you'd mentioned what time it was in Puerto Rico when you jumped off. I listened until I think about 1:45, 2 a.m. Arizona time. And then I fell asleep with it on. And then I woke up, I think it was 4 a.m. and they were still going. And I was like, I'm disconnecting and I need to get even though I've been sleeping, but I was like, all right, I'm disconnecting from this thing. Time to just quiet sleep now. I don't need to hear this in my subconscious now.
It was crazy. When I saw how long that had gone, I was like, are you serious?
But it was the best thing. And the fans needed it. And I don't know where it kept going, but I know the first 3-4 hours easily, it was a therapy session. It was the therapy session that fans needed, that alumni needed, that, there were I know at one point I saw over 700 people were on it. I don't know what the peak number was. We'd have to ask Justin. And I thanked him for, in a tweet afterwards for putting that together, because it was such a therapy session for everyone that participated, whether you just listened, whether you spoke. And it was something we needed, I think, to be able to grieve in that moment, the loss of, and also not knowing what was going to happen, because this program
more anxiety.
Yeah.
More anxiety. I felt like I was feeling and hearing a ton of anxiety on that.
Oh, there was mad anxiety. And I mean, I broke out in hives that night from an allergic reaction to something initially. And then my hives the next day got worse as I saw, the coaching staff that was going to be leaving. My hives started spreading. I was like, oh my God, this is emotional stress that's making this worse. And so that's where, but the anxiety that we were all feeling 100%, I'm sure if we ask other people out there, what were some of the things that they dealt with in that week, that it's like, you knew that was emotional stress, but it shows the love that we have for our team, that we have for our programs here in Arizona, whether it's football, basketball, softball, swimming, any of them. We have a great athletic department here at the University of Arizona. And the love from the fans runs deep.
I agree. I will say that not only are better days ahead, great days are ahead.
Great days are ahead.
We have a lot to look forward to.
Yep. We've got, loyalty, legacy, family, home.
Yes.
I will probably tweet that for 1,600 million times in the next, I don't know how long.
And are we, because I've seen both families stay and family stays.
Well, it started.
The latter is a dig to Fisch. The other one is.
Yeah. So it started out as a dig. It started out because he said families travel.
Right.
It started out as families stay. And then somebody switched it because grammatically it's not correct, right? So somebody switched it and made family stays. And whichever one, I think it was at Sidelines Arizona has gear out there that says families stay.
Yeah.
and that's fine. I mean, the meaning's the same, right?
Right.
It's just whether you want to get the in with the
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we filled up the hour, 2 hours that we've been on, and I feel like this is a great start to 2024. And we will get together again soon, and so we can get a whole lot of stuff we can talk about.
Absolutely, there's going to be lots more coming. So
It's been a
we'll be there.
pleasure. I'm so glad, Carissa, you're joining Lori and I, and I'm going to need to put a new logo together.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
are.
Thank you for the invitation and I appreciate you reaching out, Shereen, and saying, "Hey, would you like to film a podcast?" I'm like,
Yeah, let's
you
do
know what?
it.
I've never done it before, but sure, it sounds fun.
We have fun. We have a lot of fun. And like I said, when people come on and we're interviewing them, it's a little bit of, being serious and asking questions. And it's a little bit of just finding out about them.
Yeah,
And a little
who
bit
they
fun
are.
too,
Yeah,
So it's great.
But thank
Yeah.
you for the invitation. And it was a lot of fun today and a great pleasure to talk about Arizona sports with both you ladies.
So,
Fantastic.
when you're at the game on the 26th, if you're going to be there, I'll be over in media row, in
Okay.
that corner. Come over and say
Okay.
hi to me.
Yeah, I will. I'll
Love
for
to
sure.
actually meet
I
you
want
in
a
person.
picture. We need a picture.
Okay,
We'll get a picture. Lori and I will finally, I mean, we've only been communicating via Twitter for
Yeah.
years.
Cheers, I know.
With both of you. So, this was also fun too, that today this was the first time seeing you guys face to face like this versus just through the tweets. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
looking forward to a lot of more fun conversations in the future. And Lori, I'll see you on Friday for sure.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
All right. Thank you.
If you wanna find me, yeah, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, yeah, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. If you wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row.